Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, this is Tom Crawford with the Stix and Stuff Podcast, and I've been doing a weekly installation on what's wrong with America, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit about civil discourse, and I'll explain a little bit more about that in just a moment. But anyway, here once again, I'm high atop the square in Ellijay, Georgia at the Ellijay Cigar Lounge, and sitting in the Bobby Cox chair. Bobby Cox just passed away this past week at the age of 84. What a great, great individual and just a fantastic guy. He will be sorely missed. I am very fortunate that I had several occasions to meet Bobby Cox in my lifetime, and he not only was a great baseball manager, but he was a super guy. And Godspeed, Bobby Cox. We're going to miss you, buddy. But anyway, here at the Ellijay Cigar Lounge, and sitting in that great old Bobby Cox chair, we're going to talk about civil discourse today. After I take a puff on my cigar, I actually brought a little lighter over here today because halfway through the podcast, my damn cigar cuts out on me. And that's a damn shame is all that is. But anyway, got me a little lighter over here today if it goes out, because I'm usually bumping my gums too much and then my darn cigar goes out. So, I've got a lighter today to relight if I need to. I did check for boogers before we started, so hopefully I don't have any boogers hanging out of my nose. So, hey, we're about ready to get started here. What the heck is civil discourse? Civil discourse, by definition, is a respectful and open exchange of ideas aimed at understanding different perspectives and finding common ground on public matters. There's no public discourse today. There's no civil discourse today. I really do fault both sides and both parties for this. It seems to be there's a lot more or less civil discourse coming from the left these days, but hey, let me tell you, it's on both sides, ladies and gentlemen. I can give you some prime examples of Republicans who have little or no civil discourse. One that comes to mind that just left the Congress is Marjorie Greene, and she's a complete nutbag, and I'm glad she's gone. Another person is Nancy Mace. She's always doing something sensational to boost her popularity, and it makes herself look like an idiot. If they vote her in for governor in the state of South Carolina, God bless you. But anyway, she's not a bad person, but she tries to sensationalize a lot of stuff, and it's not necessary. Then there's good old Paulina Luna. She's a Republican congressperson from the state of Florida, and she lost me when she wanted to have child care in Congress. They make fucking $175,000 a year, and she wanted the taxpayers to pay for child care in the chambers of Congress. They're there to do business. They're not there for child care. And she lost me right then and there. And that's just a few examples on the Republican side. The one that really bothers me the most is Senator Rand Paul. Rand Paul is all about Rand Paul. Now, I will give him credit because he always wants to have a balanced budget. That's his mantra. That's what he always tries to do. But on the very most crucial votes that the Republicans have had in the last couple of years, he's nowhere to be found, and he's always a no vote. He wants to die on his sword instead of helping the American people. That, in my mind, is not discourse. That is stupidity. I'll give you some examples. He has always voted against government funding. That means the government shutdowns. You could count on him as a no vote to not open the government back up. Who does that hurt? You and me. Continuing resolutions, he hates them, to keep the government up and running. He always votes no on those. Once again, he's standing on his principles, and I get that, but he's not helping the American people. You don't help the American people by keeping government shut down. It's just like the Democrats on the funding ICE. You don't help the American people by keeping that shut down. And they're wanting to stand on their principle rather than the safety of the American people. That's asinine, and it's stupid. But anyway, on civil discourse, you want to argue for the ideas instead of attacking people. It's always been an idea in decorum, and especially in politics. And when you're elected for political office, you always learn the rules of the road, which is, civil discourse. You learn decorum, which are the rules of the road, and whether it be in city government, like in which I serve right now, or state government, or in the congressional and Senate leadership, there's decorum. There are rules. Right now, it seems like there are none. And that's a damn shame, because you need to argue for ideas instead of attacking people. Now, I'm pretty thick-skinned because this is a podcast and people write back all kinds of crazy stuff. I can talk about a fact. I mean, a stone cold fact, and then somebody is going to get online after I air the podcast and disagree with me and call me a fucking idiot. Hey, I've got tough skin. I can take it. But, that is not civil discourse. If you've got an argument about something that I say, state your case. State your argument. You don't have to do personal attacks. But if you do want to attack me personally, like I said, I've got thick skin, so I could give a shit. I really could. I don't care. But I just want to express some ideas, get people to think a little bit, and that's what these podcasts are for. We also do podcasts where we interview interesting people, and we also try to showcase local musicians and their original music. So this podcast is kind of all across the board, and we do different things. But in the vein of America Divided, and first we talked about illegal immigration, and then we talked about gerrymandering, and then today I wanted to talk a little bit about civil discourse, because there just is none. You have to ask yourself right now, there seems to be a lot of violence on the left for people on the right. Why is that? Is that because the left lost an election and that's one way that they've got for reaching out? I don't think so. I think what one of the main problems is they continue on and on and on, calling Trump and anybody that serves in the administration and anybody on the Republican side a Nazi and a fascist and whatever the term of the day is. The news media repeats it, and lo and behold, before long, you've got some nutbag that wants to go out and shoot somebody or try to assassinate the president or whatever it may be. The left has turned a blind eye on this for a long time, even their top leadership. The news media, will repeat what any person on the left says. If somebody calls somebody a Nazi or a fascist, they're going to repeat it. They never get called out for that type of thing, and naturally, that is certainly not civil discourse by any stretch of the imagination. Then there's some other fringe elements that always seem to be at protest. Used to be when you had a protest, you would have discourse there. You would hold up a sign, state your case, whatever the problem may be. You could be very vocal. That's what protesting is all about. Protesting never has been about violence. It never has been about throwing things, breaking windows, looting buildings. That's not protest, that's anarchy. And then you have groups, like Antifa, which the left never condemns, and they're more than glad to see them out there raising all kinds of hell. For what? For anarchy. Is that where we've really come as a country? I mean, is that what we really want to see in our streets? I don't get it. And going back to just regular you and me in public, we should have more civil discourse with each other. When somebody disagrees with me on a subject, I always simply ask them why. It is very interesting. A lot of times they can't tell you because they just want to disagree with you because of their ideology. And that's a damn shame, folks. I mean, that's just crazy. I've had people, respond back to the podcast and, after I state a fact and say that I'm an idiot and I don't know what I'm talking about. Well, I'm just talking about the truth. I'm talking about a fact that's established, and yet some people don't want to believe it. Is that what we've become to today? I certainly hope not, but there are so many people out there that are like that. They don't see the truth. They can't handle the truth. Sounds like a movie, doesn't it? But, I mean, they can't. They can't. It doesn't jive with their ideas of the way things should be going. How do you find common ground with people that ignore the facts? I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. I simply don't know. And I'm not here to tell you how or why. I'm just telling you, when you do engage with somebody that want to simply ignore the facts, ask them why, and see what they come up with, and try to find some kind of reason for their illogical behavior. Most of the time they cannot tell you, and that's a big problem because you can't fix stupid. You simply can't do it. And that kind of comes to the last part of the podcast today. This is a real short one. It doesn't need a lot of discussion. There are a lot of crazy people in this world. There truly are. We did away with mental institutions a long time ago. And so we put all these people out on the streets, and they're genuine, certified nutbags. And those are the people that take up arms or get it in their head that, they have some kind of mental condition, and it goes undiagnosed, and they go up and buy a bunch of weapons, and then the next thing you know, they're out there shooting people. Something has to be done with mental health and mental care in the country, and on a wholesale basis. I mean, it's hurtful for both sides of the fence, and this is not a left or right issue. This is a healthcare crisis issue, and somebody simply needs to, both sides of Congress need to get together and get something done about it because it's nuts. I mean, crazy people are out there that certainly have mental problems, but crazy people are out there just in general because they're fucking crazy. That's just like people wearing pajamas in the middle of the daytime to Walmart. And that's why I could never be a greeter at Walmart, because my job would last 5 minutes. I'll say, what the fuck are you doing in here in the middle of the day in your pajamas? Then I'd get fired, and probably deservedly so. But I mean, you know, there are a lot of crazy people in the world. God love them. But anyway, beware who you're talking to. Sometimes when you're trying to have a conversation with somebody and they are a certified nutbag, they're not going to understand anyway, and they're just going to take offense, and all of a sudden you've got a situation on your hands. But a lot of times people will discuss things. And if you ever take the time to just sit and say why to somebody, let them think for a change. Let them come back with some kind of answer. They may change your mind. I mean, you never know. And that's where the common ground comes in on this whole thing. But anyway, once again, I'm Tom Crawford with the Stix and Stuff Podcast. And before I leave this show today, I always ask people to take care of themselves and be good to yourself, enjoy life, and above all things, do something special for somebody this week. Thank you very much. I'm Tom Crawford with the Stix and Stuff Podcast. See you next time.